What would you do if your own sister became your worst enemy? Because that's exactly what happened in tonight's story. And trust me, it only gets worse from here. Hey story lovers, welcome back to True Tales by MK, where every story has a lesson. If you are new here, we are happy to have you join the family. Let's go!
I planned my twin sister's downfall. I know how that sounds, but don't rush to judge me. My name is Kachi. My sister and I had the same face, but not the same life. One of us became a hero. The other became something dangerous enough to destroy her. And when everything finally collapsed, only one of us made it alive. I didn't always hate my sister. There was a time we laughed at the same things, slept on the same bed, and shared everything like normal twins. But that was before people started comparing us. Before my name started sounding like a mistake and hers started sounding like a blessing. Kamsi was the kind of girl parents prayed for. Calm, smart, disciplined. The daughter everyone pointed at with pride. And me? I was the one they sighed at. The one they looked at and asked, why can't you be like your sister? At first, I ignored it. But words don't disappear when you ignore them. They sink in, slowly, quietly, until they start changing how you see yourself and how you see the person they keep praising. Kamsi didn't even have to try. Everything came easy for her. Respect, attention, love.
Even when she made mistakes, people still protected her image. But for me, one mistake defined everything. One failure became my identity. And the worst part is, she never used it against me. She never mocked me. She never hurt me. She even defended me when others insulted me. But that didn't stop what was growing inside me. Because jealousy doesn't need a reason to survive. It only needs space. And in me, it had all the space it needed. The day everything truly changed started like a celebration. My father came home smiling like he had won the world. He had just secured a huge contract worth millions. The whole house celebrated like we had already become rich. But while everybody laughed, I sat quietly in the corner, planning something terrible. That night, after everybody slept, I crept into my parents' room. My father's briefcase sat beside the bed. I remember staring at it for a long moment while my heart pounded violently inside my chest. Part of me wanted to stop, but the darker part of me had already won. I opened the briefcase carefully and found the contract. Then I took it. The next morning, everything changed. My father opened his briefcase and froze. At first, he searched calmly, then faster, then desperately. The contract was gone. The entire house turned upside down. Everybody panicked. Then my father came to question Kamsi and me. And that was when I did the unforgivable. I looked at my sister and lied. I forced tears into my eyes and accused her. I told them I saw her sneaking out of their room during the night. I told them to search her school bag. Kamsi looked completely shocked. She agreed immediately because she believed innocence would protect her. But innocence means nothing when evidence is waiting. My father searched her bag and found torn pieces of the contract inside. I still remember the expression of Kamsi's face when she realized what was happening. Pure horror. "Daddy, I swear I didn't do this," she cried. But nobody listened anymore. "The evidence is right here," my father shouted angrily. He beat Kamsi mercilessly while she cried and begged. And while she broke apart in front of everybody, I stood there pretending to wipe tears from my eyes. Later in the night, she confronted me in our room. Her eyes were swollen from crying. She asked me why I hated her so much. And for the first time in my life, I admitted everything. I told her I was tired of living in her shadow, tired of hearing how perfect she was. I confessed that I stole the contract, tore it apart, and planted it in her bag. I thought I had finally won, but I was too blinded by hatred to notice one thing. Kamsi had been recording me the entire time. She took the recording to our parents and she played it. And suddenly, the monster in the family was no longer hidden.
My father exploded with anger. My mother cried like her heart was breaking. That was the first time I saw genuine disappointment in their eyes. They punished me badly that night. My phone was seized. I was grounded indefinitely. But even after all that, I still hated Kamsi, maybe even more than before. That night, I made myself a promise. I don't care if it takes me a year or eternity, Kamsi. I will make you regret the day you were born, my twin. This is just the beginning. And unfortunately, I kept that promise. 15 years later, we still looked exactly alike. But our lives had gone in completely different directions. Kamsi became a respected soldier. People saluted her proudly. And me? I became exactly what everybody feared. A criminal. I joined a robbery gang and slowly disappeared into a life filled with weapons, drugs, violence, and blood.
Every time I saw Kamsi in her military uniform, something ugly woke up inside me. Because no matter how far I fell, she kept rising. My parents still tried to save me, especially my mother, but I pushed everybody away. By then, hatred had already become part of me. One afternoon, Kamsi came home to visit. The house felt alive again the moment she entered. My parents smiled in a way I hadn't seen for years, and immediately, I hated it. I walked into the living room with my boyfriend, James, beside me. He was the leader of my gang. The atmosphere changed instantly. Kamsi looked at me with anger and disappointment. She asked why I brought a criminal into our house. We had a heated argument. We pushed each other, we shouted and fought violently. Our parents struggled to separate us, while we screamed at each other like enemies instead of sisters. Even while they held us apart, our eyes remained locked. Two identical faces, one filled with disappointment, the other filled with hatred. Before leaving the house, I looked directly at her and whispered,
I swear on my life, you will regret coming back today. Then I angrily left the house with my boyfriend. Later that night, I returned quietly. Everybody was asleep. I quietly stole Kamsi's army uniform and wait, it fitted perfectly. Of course it did. We were twins. Then I slipped out into the darkness. Outside, my gang was waiting for me inside a black SUV. I entered and the car zoomed off. That night, we attacked a military armory. Dressed in Kamsi's uniform, I approached the gate confidently. Identify yourself, one of the soldiers demanded. Emergency movement, I replied coldly. Open the gate. For a brief second, the soldier wasn't sure. And that tiny hesitation changed everything. Gunshots exploded instantly. The soldiers dropped instantly. Chaos erupted everywhere. My gang members jumped out firing wildly. Glass shattered, sirens screamed, red emergency lights flooded the compound. Grab the crates, my boyfriend shouted. Move, move!
Everybody rushed around, carrying heavy ammunition boxes and rifles toward the vehicle. The entire military base was waking up now. Shouting filled the air. Boots thundered loudly across the compound. And in the middle of all that madness, I felt alive. As I climbed over the final security fence to escape, bang! A bullet tore violently into my arm. Ah! Pain exploded through my body instantly. I crushed hard onto the ground. Warm blood soaked through the camouflage sleeve immediately. And suddenly, fear replaced adrenaline. Babe, move! My boyfriend screamed from the car. Breathing heavily, I struggled toward the vehicle. But the jacket suddenly felt too heavy. With shaking hands, I ripped the blood-soaked camouflage off my body and threw it into the tall grass nearby. Then I jumped into the vehicle. The engine roared loudly. Tires screeched violently against the road. And within seconds, we disappeared into the darkness.
A few minutes later, the military pursuit team reached the fence where I had escaped.
They found the camouflage I had thrown away with the name tag Lieutenant K. Johnson. The military didn't hesitate. They checked CCTV footage, and what they saw made everything worse. They saw me wearing Kamsi's uniform. Same face, same height, so they believed I was Kamsi. They needed no investigation, no questions, and the decision was made. They went to our house before dawn and broke down the door. My family woke up to chaos that morning. Soldiers stormed in before anyone could understand what was happening. They dragged Kamsi roughly off the bed while she screamed that she was innocent. My parents rushed upstairs desperately. "There must be a mistake," my mother screamed. "She's a thief and a traitor," the commander spat angrily. "We found her uniform at the armory. We have her on camera." "What?" my father gasped. "My doctor cannot do that," my mother cried. But the soldiers didn't care. "Daddy, Mommy," Kamsi screamed desperately as they dragged her downstairs. "I swear I didn't do anything. I was home all night."
But nobody listened. The military doesn't wait for explanations when betrayal is involved. They dragged her outside and threw her into the back of a military truck. The metal door slammed shut like a coffin. And just like that, my revenge became real. At first, I thought they would eventually discover the truth. I thought maybe she would be questioned and released. But things moved too fast. The CCTV footage was enough for them. The abandoned uniform was enough. The military believed one thing only. Lieutenant Kamsi Johnson had betrayed her country.
And the punishment for betrayal was death. The trial happened quickly, too quickly. Cold military courtrooms, harsh faces, no mercy. Kamsi kept insisting she was innocent, but every piece of evidence pointed toward her.
That morning, they led her outside for execution. Hands tied, face calm, heart broken. The commander raised his voice loudly. "Ready!" The soldiers lifted their rifles. "Aim!" Kamsi's voice rang out one final time. "I am innocent!" Then,
Fire!
the gunshots echoed through the morning air, and my sister died because of me. Because I let things go too far. Because I wanted revenge without thinking about consequences. That same morning, I sat alone inside a dark room in one of our gang hideouts. My wounded arm was bandaged roughly. A small television played quietly in the corner. Then the breaking news appeared. The reporter confirmed the execution of Lieutenant Kamsi Johnson for treason and armed robbery against the military. For several seconds, I just stared at the screen silently. Then slowly, I smiled. I had finally done it. I had finally destroyed the golden child. But strangely, the victory felt empty. Because deep down, I knew something terrible had happened. Something irreversible. For the first time in my life, I felt afraid of myself. Hours later, my parents arrived at the military headquarters, screaming hysterically. "You killed the wrong person!" my father shouted desperately. He collapsed before the colonel in tears. She was innocent. My mother grabbed the officer's uniform violently. "She has an identical twin," she screamed. "Kachi is the criminal. Kachi stole her uniform." The entire room froze instantly. The colonel's expression changed immediately. "Identical twin?" he repeated slowly. Suddenly, the CCTV footage no longer seemed absolute. The camouflage jacket no longer felt like enough evidence. Panic spread through the military base instantly. An emergency forensic investigation began immediately. The military took blood samples from the camouflage jacket abandoned near the fence. Hours later, the results came back, and the truth exploded like a bomb. The DNA did not belong to Kamsi. And even worse, the blood was saturated with hard drugs. The blood belonged to a criminal addict. The blood belonged to me. The colonel reportedly sat in silence for almost 5 minutes after reading the results. Then, slowly, He removed his cap and walked toward my parents. "There has been a catastrophic error," he whispered painfully. "We executed an innocent officer, but apologies meant nothing now. Nothing could bring Kamsi back. Nothing." Driven by guilt and shame, the military launched a massive operation to find me. Every known hideout connected to our gang was raided. Every criminal associate was hunted down. 3 days later, they found us. A quiet building on the outskirts of the city. The moment soldiers surrounded the area, chaos exploded. My boyfriend reached for his gun. Bang! He was shot dead instantly. I turned and ran in panic, but I didn't get far. I got shot on the leg. Several soldiers tackled me violently to the ground. "Let me go!" I screamed desperately. "I didn't do anything!" The colonel himself walked toward me slowly. His face was filled with rage. "Your sister is dead because of you," he hissed. And suddenly, I laughed. A broken, hollow laugh. I told her I would deal with her. I told her I'd make her regret being my twin. The soldiers stared at me with disgust. "Mission accomplished, right?" I whispered. There was no mercy for me after the trial.
I was court-martialed for armed robbery, impersonation of a military officer, theft of military weapons, and the indirect murder of Lieutenant Kamsi Johnson. The sentence was life imprisonment with hard labor in a maximum security prison. The day they threw me into that prison, I finally understood what hell looked like. Every morning before sunrise, guards banged violently against the prison bars for us to get up. I carried heavy blocks under the burning sun until my hands bled. I scrubbed filthy floors with swollen fingers. I broke stones until my back felt like it would snap in half. I did all this with my untreated gunshot wounds. There was no rest, no peace, and the worst part, the other inmates discovered my crime, so no one pitied me. Instead, they were adding more salt to the injury. They always ganged up to give me the beating of my life. To them, I wasn't human anymore. I was the monster who destroyed her own sister out of jealousy. At first, I fought back. I screamed. I attacked people. I cursed everyone. But slowly, the prison broke me. Then, the nightmares began. I started seeing my sister's ghost, asking me why I killed her. The first time I saw her standing in the corner of my cell, I nearly lost my mind. I covered my ears and screamed until the guards rushed in. But she never stopped coming. Sometimes I saw her reflection in mirrors instead of mine, always asking the same question. Why did you do it? Little by little, I started talking to shadows. People thought I had gone crazy, but the truth was worse. I had finally become a prisoner inside my own guilt, and no prison sentence was worse than that. After the death of my sister, my parents were never the same again. They won a massive lawsuit against the state for the wrongful execution, but the money felt like blood in their hands. They used it to build a memorial library in Kamsi's name, but they never stopped foot in it. Months later, they visited me in prison. I thought they came to scream at me, maybe even slap me. Instead, they looked empty and broken. My mother couldn't even look directly at my face, and my father stared at me for a long moment before finally speaking. "We didn't just lose Kamsi," he said quietly. "We lost you long before that day." His eyes filled with tears. "You may have her face, but to us, you are only a ghost now." Then he stood up slowly. "Henceforth, we are no longer your parents, and you are no longer our daughter." And just like that, they walked away forever, leaving me completely alone. Alone with my jealousy, alone with my guilt, alone with the ghost of the sister I destroyed. That was when I finally understood something I didn't understand before. Justice doesn't always mean punishment. Sometimes justice is watching your own life continue while everything inside you is already dead. I am not in chains just because of the law. I am in chains because of my memory, because of my guilt, because of what I cannot undo. And that is the part nobody tells you about jealousy. It doesn't just take what you love. It replaces it with regret you cannot escape. Jealousy is a poison that blinds the eyes and rots the heart. I spent my entire life trying to pull down my sister to my level, only to realize that in destroying Kamsi, I effectively erased myself.
Let this story serve as a tragic reminder that when you dig a grave for your brother, you should dig too. Revenge and envy offer no victory. They only leave you standing alone in a house of ghosts, haunting a life you can never get back. Don't let bitterness write your ending. I hope you learn from Kachi's story. Share this story if you believe envy is a silent killer. Comment truth if you think Kachi got what she deserved. Subscribe and turn on your notification for more intense stories of betrayal and redemption. See you on our next story. Bye!